Welcome to the tutorial for our Curio slab shelf, folks. Today I'll be teaching you how to make these Curio shelves. Here's one that I did previously. You can make these any shape you want. There's different things that you can use to create a template. You can use any circle or rectangle or square that you find in the studio. I think I'm going to be using this round one this time. You can also use one of my templates. I have different size ones. And then I've got different bottoms. So this one has a square bottom. This is pretty much almost the same size, but it's got a rounded corner. And you can also take a rubber tip tool and draw your own shape. So we're going to begin by prepping our clay as always. It's very important to take a rib once you've rolled out your slab and compress and smooth your slab on both sides. So I've already done the other side. I'm just working on this one now. I rolled out, this is probably about 8 pounds, and I'll probably need more. So I'm probably going to have to roll out another slab for my shelves, but we'll see, maybe not. If you get any of these air bubbles, just go ahead and pop them with a needle tool and then continue to prep with your rib. You definitely want to get rid of any air bubbles because you don't want any explosions. We work really hard on these projects, so make sure that you're taking care of your slab and prepping it properly before you begin. All right. There we go. That looks pretty good. I think there might be another one here, though. Let me hit that. All right. Great. All right, so I think I'm going to do a circle, and I'm going to do this large. This is a 12.5 inch circle. That's this long. That's the bigger side and not this smaller side. So I'm going to do, I think I'm going to do the full circle. You could do just a part of a circle. In other words, you could do like a flat, straight bottom and just cut it here, and that would be a really cool shape. You don't have to do the full circle, but I think I am going to do the full circle, and I've showed you guys lots of examples in class of different shapes that you can make, so feel free to be as creative as you want. There's a minimum for size in class, so that's the only thing you really need to adhere to. I'm going to put my circle all the way to the end, so I'm not wasting any clay here, and we'll go around with the needle tool and follow that shape. Your wall size will have everything to do with your the size of your back wall. Your side walls will have everything to do, will have a relationship with your back wall for sure. So there we go. There's our circle, and I'm going to move this clay to the side. Got a lot of things on this table, so I'm trying to make some space here. All right, that's going to move to the side so we can focus on this. You should let your slab dry for at least 20 or 30 minutes before you begin. You can for sure prep your slab, but as far as cutting and building, absolutely wait. Little piece. There we go. You don't want any sharp corners, sharp edges in ceramic, so make sure that you've smoothed your edge. Excuse me. And I've just flipped it over carefully and smoothing this edge. We can sure form things later, so I'm not too worried about any imperfections on the edge. Excuse me. All right, here we go. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and start making our walls. The size for your walls, folks, you're going to make a bunch of strips at this point. And I think a good thickness for your walls is this T-square right here. It's hanging on the wall. If you wanted a smaller wall, you could use a ruler. That's a big, big difference though. I think these plastic rulers would be best because they're not as wide as the T-square, but this one is pretty narrow. So I think I would use these two for sure. These two right there. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to find my knife, and I'm going to just cut one straight side so I have something to work with. I'm saving all my scraps in a bag. So all of these scraps will go into a bag. I've got one already started right here. You put your scraps in there. Give it a spray because you're going to need this. Make sure you cover it really well. You're going to need those scraps later on. Oops, what's that? That's weird. Glaze. That's just a little bit of glaze that was on the ruler. Okay, so I have one straight edge now right here. So I can hang my ruler off of here and start my walls. You're going to need multiple strips, and you're basically just using the thickness of this ruler, right? I'm going to make some for the wall that's going to go around, and I'm going to make some for my shelves. There we go. It's good to just take care of all your strips so that you don't have to go back and straighten that guy out. You don't have to go back and cut more. Although, like I said, you might need more for your walls. I mean, for your shelves, excuse me. And I'm going to get one more out of here. When you use a T-square, it's really important to hang it off this top so you get a nice straight line. So I think that's probably good for now. I'm going to save these other slabs and put them off to the side. Okay. Now we're ready to start connecting our walls. So I'm going to take my slip, which is basically just water that we use, right? And I'm going to go ahead and start scoring the top edge of this back wall to make the initial wall, side wall. Move these guys a little bit so I have some space to start scoring. Come on. When you score, you want to score deeply because this is what's going to be attaching your pieces together. There's a little water. Little water. Just going to go back over with my serrated rib after I put some water on there, and I'll start my attaching. This is a circle, so it doesn't really matter where I begin my wall attachment. If you have any shape that has squared off edges, make sure that you don't end a wall piece on the corner because it becomes a weak spot. So I'm just making sure that my wall is pushed to the edge, and at the same time I'm attaching it. Pushing down a little bit, that looks pretty good. I think this shape is going to be pretty cool. Here's my next wall. And you want to overlap. And then take your knife and cut through both of these. Let's see. Cut through both of these. I'm trying to move this so you guys can see it from the side camera a little bit better. There we go. I'm going to cut through both diagonally. Careful not to cut through your base, and now these two will fit together. I did cut through my base a little bit. Score your corners. And attach. You want to make sure that you connect really, really well. I go across horizontally, supporting the other side, go across, and then go up. Okay, we're good. Make sure it's hitting the edge. Pressure and connect. I'm just running my finger along so that this connects. If you're making a circle, you want to make sure that you're in solid circle. Any score lines that you have on the inside will disappear soon. Okay. I'm going to overlap. And cut through diagonally. Try not to go too far this time because I did go through my base last time just a little bit. Do a little scoring. Connect. You're just basically pushing it together and then using your rib to smooth together. And again, when you do this connecting, you want to make sure that you're supporting the inside or the outside, the opposite side you're working on. Go across and go up. There we go. We're almost all the way around. Diagonal cut through both. It might be a good idea for you to work on top of a slab mat so you can twist this around. I did find that last time I made one of these, it was difficult to lift it off the board, and then when I was time to clean up, we were having a hard time pulling these off the wooden boards. Okay. There's my circle, and I'm just going to go around and make sure it's flush to the edges. Hits my edges nicely. And then I'm also smoothing. Just running my finger. Saving my scraps in my bag. And then, of course, you want to really seal the inside of this, and we're about to make a bunch of coils. This whole project is really reliant on your support coils, you guys. If you don't put your support coils on here, it's not going to be structurally sound. You really want to make sure to do that. So I'm just running my sponge here and doing a little connecting and smoothing. And then I'm going to make a bunch of coils that are going to come in here and support this connection. I'm also going to take my sponge and run it on the rim because I don't want any sharp edges. So these edges all have to go nice and rounded. You can use your fingers and do this way and just round your edges that way, but I think it's easier. I mean, you could do either which way, but it's much easier to just run your sponge on it, and you're also making sure that this is nice and round. You don't want an off circle. This clay is pretty soft still, so it's really moving around a lot. So I think that at this point I'm just going to let this dry a little bit because I don't want to mess with it too much. I'm going to go ahead and put some support coils around the whole interior, so I will show you what that looks like. Your coils, don't make them too thick because it's going to be very difficult to smooth them completely in. So I always suggest making your coils the thickness of a pencil. You're just moving your fingers around and only putting pressure on the out when you roll. Make them nice and skinny so you don't have to spend a really long time rolling or smoothing this into the corners. All right, so I feel like they're not skinny enough yet. They're just there for support, so we want to make sure that they disappear completely. Doesn't matter if they break. I'm going to set it in and push down into the corner as you go along. As you push, the coil will stretch a little bit. Go. Support your exterior as you smooth this in. Depending on the shape of your back wall, you might need a tool to do this with. You can use your paintbrush. The back of the paintbrush works pretty good. Just make sure they're 100% smoothed in. You don't see any sign, any trace of a coil. All right, so we're going to finish putting our support coil around the whole interior, and then let it set up a little while, about 10-15 minutes, and we'll come back to it.